I'm not teaching, I'm publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 67, Restoration part 4, that is on page 30. Now, and we just had figured out at least one way to interpret the Habeas Corpus Act, and that is that if a country wants to put someone behind bars, or wants to put someone in prison, they had to bring that person into a court. And we know a couple of things directly. Let's look what we have. We know that every person in the United Kingdom has a right to a fair trial. So a person cannot come into prison. Does that mean a person has a right to a trial? A trial means court. That is what's happening in court. A person has a right to a fair trial. Every person, before they come into prison, has a right to fair trial. Or at least before they are sentenced into prison. So we know that every person has a right to a fair trial. And the second thing we know is every prisoner has a right to a court hearing. And they don't mean just one hearing, they mean the hearing before the sentence is spoken. So the sentence of, in the judicial sense, the sentence of you're going to prison for 1 year or something. And we know that the Act guaranteed that no one could be held prisoner unlawfully. So no one can be held in prison if not a law said they are going into prison. And that law had to be done. So a law has to exist to hold the people in to hold the person in prison. And if we take it all together, it would be probably easier to directly read what is written in the Habeas Corpus Act. So, and the person has to be sentenced by a law, and that has to happen in court, and the person has to be there. So the person has the right to be in court before they are coming into prison. And let's read it again. Habeas Corpus Act. It is Latin for you must present the person in court. The Act guaranteed that no one could be held prisoner unlawfully. Every prisoner has a right to a court hearing. And we have written here on the left, Habeas Corpus is Latin for you must present the person in court. The Act guaranteed that no one could be held prisoner unlawfully. They want us to know. They don't want us to understand Habeas Corpus Act, or to live by it, or to know what it means. They want us to know for the test that through the Habeas Corpus Act, no one could be held prisoner unlawfully, and we could add that every person has a right to a fair trial, and every prisoner has a right to a court hearing. I'm sure they had written more than just 5 lines to add that such a small section to something so important if they actually want us to understand it. Now let's start with not announced, but here now, shoulder impingement training. So we're doing shoulder impingement training in between what I read there. And if you participate in the shoulder impingement training, that is such a honest. We are starting with forward shoulder circles, and forward shoulder circles are started with going backwards. So we go backwards, up and front and down and again back, up and front and down and one time. And now the last one, and now we're doing backward shoulder circles. And if we're want to go backwards with the shoulders, we're going in front and then up and then back and so on. And a few of them. And then let's do the first actual exercise against shoulder impingement. We're having long arms, no bend in the elbow, and we're going as far back as we can with the shoulders. And now try to go further back with the shoulders while you lift the shoulders high up. Now try to lift the shoulders high up while you bring them in front. Try to bring them further in front while you bring them down. Try to bring them further down while you bring them back. Try to bring them further back while you lift them up. Try to lift them higher up while you bring them in front. And the last time down, try to bring them further in front while you bring them down. And backwards. Try to bring them higher while you lift them, bring them in front. Try to bring them higher up while you bring them back. Try to bring them further back while you bring them down. Try to bring them further down while you bring them in front. Try to bring them further in front while you bring them up. And last 2 movements, try to bring them higher up while you bring them back. And try to bring them further down further back will be written down. Charles II was interested in science, so they just added that part about habeas corpus in the restoration section. And they did it because it happened in the time scale there. It doesn't really make sense. It makes sense because a lot of restoration, a lot of change happened in the government style and so on. But they just added it there. Charles II was interested in science, so Charles II is the son of Charles I. Charles I, do we know who the parents of Charles I were? Yes, the son of James I and James VI. Okay, we can go back to Mary, Queen of Scots. So Mary, Queen of Scots, had... It was Charles VI, yes. Mary, Queen of Scots, had to flee England because Mary, Queen of Scots, was the Queen of Scotland. She had to flee England because she was accused of murdering her husband. She flew Scotland. She flew away from Scotland and gave the throne to her son James VI of Scotland. James VI reigned, and then Elizabeth I, the Queen of England, died. And now James VI, because Elizabeth I had no children, became the King of England, and he was now simultaneously the James VI of Scotland and the first King of England with James I. With James in the name, so he was James I. He was James VI of Scotland and James I of England. And now James VI of England and James I of Scotland had a son, Charles I, and Charles I was the one who fought, as well as James VI and the first of England and Scotland, that he had the divine right of kings, and he thought that he was appointed by God to rule and did not have to ask the parliament if he wanted something, and that led to dispute with the parliament, eventually to a civil war with the parliament. He lost. Charles I was hanged. No, executed. I don't know how he was executed. I assume he was hanged, but it could be also beheaded. It's probably beheaded. So Charles I was executed. And Charles II, his son, was then by the Scottish crowned. The Scottish were not... They didn't like that Charles I was executed, did not agree to the execution, and they made his son, Charles II, now the king. Charles II tried to invade England, but he was, by Oliver Cromwell's army, defeated, and he fled the country to the Netherlands, and he lived there for some years. We don't know more. He lived in Europe and then in the Netherlands. But now Oliver Cromwell reigned for some time. When Oliver Cromwell died, when the son of Oliver Cromwell, as he was the Lord Protector, Oliver Cromwell was not king, he was the Lord Protector. And when after Oliver Cromwell had died, his son Richard continued the rule, but Richard couldn't rule so good, the government and the army, so that the people of the parliament invited Charles II. The parliament wanted Charles II back. They called him back, he came back, and he was crowned the King of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And now with Charles II, we have a few things. One of the things is that the parliament generally supported his policies. So the Church of England was again established, and both were not in power, the Roman Catholics and the Puritans. The Church of England was established, neither the Roman Catholics nor the Puritans were in power. The Parliament supported his policies, and he understood, other than his father and grandfather, that he could not always do as he wished, but would sometimes need to reach agreement with Parliament. And during his reign there was a plague of 1665 in London, which killed thousands, and the majority especially in poor areas, and the Great Fire of London 1666. And many churches were destroyed, but for example London was rebuilt, and also the St. Paul's Cathedral by the architect Sir Christopher Wren. And there's a book written about this, a diary, and that is by Samuel Pepys. Sorry about it. So and then we have the Habeas Corpus Act, which came 13 years after the Great Fire of London. And now we're going on with Charles II was interested in science. But let's do a bit shoulder impingement training. We're having the legs standing wide apart. I guess we will do now without that much effort, mostly shoulder impingement training. We're going down into the knees. We're hinging forward with a straight back, letting the arms hang. And now we're pressing the scapulas together. We're pinching the scapulas together. That's the third fight. Now we twist and lift the arms up and pinch the scapulas together. And lift the arms down and the scapulas. And again, pinch the scapulas together and pinch them really together. Make fists and lift the arms up and pinch the scapulas really together. And lift the arms down and the scapulas. Now make a round back and lift the arms hang. Turn the arms to the inside. Lift the arms high up and bring the arms together. Straighten the back up and bring the shoulders down and together. The arms high up and together, the shoulders down and together. The arms high up and together, shoulders down, together with effort. And lift the arms, release the arms. And another time, into the knees, hinge forward, with a round back, let the arms hang, turn the arms to the inside, the arms high up and together, straighten slowly up, bring the shoulders back, down and together, and the arms high up, together, shoulders down, together. And the third part. And release again. And the next two exercises, the last two exercises I think, we are lifting the arms up and we're just concentrating on the scapulas, which we're opening up and making room for the humerus bone to come up. And if this exercise hurts or any other, then stop immediately and don't do that. Just concentrate on the scapulas. How are they moving? Are they following the humerus? And if the humerus wall comes up and needs room, that they're opening up and making space free for the humerus to come up. And the last time. And down. And now the siblings exercise, the arms to the outside. And just think about the scapulas. How are we following the humerus? Now back and pinching together back. And are we following around the rib cage? Are we following the humerus? Are we going back over the rib cage, pinching it back together? The scapulas are following around the rib cage. And the scapulas are going back and pinching back together. And last time, just concentrate on the scapulas. And now we are just bringing one more arm in front, we're stretching the arm. And now the other one. And now we're having around 100 seconds left to know what was with Charles II and his interest in science. Charles II was interested in science. During his reign, the Royal Society was formed to promote natural knowledge. We will get an explanation of it, but we will first understand the sentence. During his reign, so while Charles II was king, that was also the time, so from when he was crowned, that must be in May 1660. There was a plague in 1665, and the Great Fire in 1666, and the Habeas Corpus Act in 1679. The Habeas Corpus Act was in 1679. So, and there was also the Royal Society formed to promote natural knowledge. So something called Royal Society, and it should do the promotion of natural knowledge. This is the oldest surviving scientific society in the world. So there can be societies and there can be scientific societies. So it was a society, so a group of people or something like that, an organization around of science, and it's the oldest one which is surviving, so the oldest one which still exists today. Another thing which still exists today, and would be the best preserved prehistoric village on Scarborough and Orkney. And we had something else with the Domesday Book, I think was one of the things. Yes, in Stonehenge in Wiltfordshire. And here the two forts, Maiden Castle can be still seen, but I don't think in its original pride, and Bjornsdale and the other thing. I don't know if that was. I thank you very much, and until next time.